Today on my desk is the Xigmatek Aquila. Now, this is a microATX case, but this is one of the most well-engineered microATX cases we've seen in a while. Xigmatek uses one weird trick to fit everything inside a case. Stay tuned. The dimensions of the case are 390 by 403 by 265 millimeter. This is the front of the case. The front is a really nice metal mesh backed by a dust filter. The front's easily removable, but the dust filter is built into the front, so cleaning it's going to be a little bit of a headache. But because the front is so easily removable, it's not really that big of a deal. It has two USB 3 ports on the side there and HD audio, headphone and microphone. The other big feature on the side of this case is the tinted side window. Now at the back of the case, the first thing you notice is the 120/140 millimeter fan. Now it comes installed with a 120 millimeter Xigmatek fan. This is a higher end fan from Xigmatek. I would have liked to see a 140 millimeter fan come pre-installed, but that's just personal preference. This fan is a solid fan and it will do the job. The other thing is that they've mounted the ATX motherboard horizontally, which in my opinion is a nice feature. It is difficult to get a horizontal motherboard layout in a case this compact, and in order to do it, they've mounted the power supply underneath the motherboard, which is an interesting choice. Next to the power supply are your 2.5 inch drive bays. This side is pretty nondescript. There's not really a lot going on with it. It's just a blank side. So let's take a look at the inside. As I take the side panel off, one thing that I noticed is that the build quality on this thing is pretty crazy. There are rivets and screws everywhere, and in taking the side off, normally you feel the case flex a little bit. This case did not flex at all. I don't know if that's because of the handles on top. They're actually made out of plastic, but they're screwed and mounted directly into the case. So I'm not really sure, but the side panel really did not want to let go. But that's something I like about a case. Now inside, this layout looks familiar, and astute observers may recognize this layout from another case. This is the motherboard tray. The motherboard tray will hold microATX or mini ITX. There's actually a lot of room in here. I didn't think that there would be a lot of room with a microATX motherboard for cable routing and things like that, but the cable routing inside this case is genius. There's a 5.25 inch bay in the top, and there's also 120/140 millimeter fans or radiator mount for the top. I don't think you would have any problem fitting a Kraken in here or a Corsair H100i, something like that. In the bottom, we've got the toolless 3.5 inch bays and the mount for the power supply. Now, the power supply also has these 4 rubber dampening feet mounts, whatever you want to call them, which is another nice added touch. Now, I know this is kind of dark, but that's because this thing is powder coated everywhere with some sort of crazy photon absorbing paint. So we're going to take the other side off so that you can get a better look. There's the accessory box that has the screws and that sort of thing. Now, to the right of that is the 2.5 inch drive bay. This is what we saw when we looked at the back. This is really nice because you've got good airflow over those drives. There's 2 there. I feel like they probably could have fit a third or a fourth one in there, maybe. But there's 2, so cable routing is not really a big deal. And this area where the cardboard box is actually a really good cable routing and stashing area. So you've got all those wires that come off the power supply and all the wires that go to your drives. You can mount your hard drive so that the cables are at the back here and the front of your drive is on the other side, and the same with the 2.5 inch drives. And so all this area ends up being your cable management area, which gives you a lot of room for cable management, which is really nice and will help you keep the inside of the case really tidy. Just like the front of the case, the top also has this metal mesh with the dust filter behind it. Now, the one on top is held in place magnetically, so it's really easily removable, and the big silver thing is the power button. The power button, unfortunately, doesn't click very satisfyingly, but I don't think that's really a big deal. It is a really nice texture, and it's got a little divot for making it easy to remove. Because it's magnetic, it'll just pop out. So that one's going to be a lot easier to clean than the one on the front, although I think most people would have this configured as an exhaust. Now, with the top removed, you can really see that you've got a lot of room here for a 120/140 millimeter radiator, although if you did install a fan and radiator, it's going to block your 5.25 inch bay. One of the really impressive things about this case is that even though it's small, you can still fit a 330 millimeter GPU and 180 millimeter tall CPU cooler. That's no compromises. You're using full-size desktop parts in this compact, easily transportable microATX case. As far as I'm concerned with this and the build quality that we've been seeing from microATX motherboards, this is my first choice for a platform now. This case is highly recommended if you're in the market for a microATX case. And I think we're going to do a build with it.